I'm 28 male, happily married to my wife Sarah 31. We've been together for over 6 years and married for 3 years. My mother Laura 45 had me pretty early on. She always wanted a big family and has been with my dad since they were teens. After she had me, she decided to be a stay-at-home mother. And in the space of 10 years had 7 kids. So I have loads of siblings. She's recently announced that I'm to become a brother again. Sarah and I have been struggling to conceive for the past 3 years. We really would like to have a kid together and consider looking for other options, but my family talked us out of it, saying we shouldn't trust our child with some unknown woman. I have suggested my mother or my sister carry for us if they're that worried, but both of them declined, saying that they can't have any more children and won't be able to carry. My sister has 5 kids. And just to note, I love Sarah regardless if we have a child or not, and I'm willing to adopt, but she really wants us to have our own. Sarah and I have tried a lot of options, and recently, unfortunately, she had another loss. And this was really upsetting and depressing for both of us. So I've shown my support, and my mother, who knew about our struggles in recent news, invited us out to dinner at her house yesterday to support and cheer Sarah up. Sarah wanted to attend as she has a very good relationship with my mother. My entire family was there, and the dinner was going well. Sarah congratulated my mother on her pregnancy, and I thought that would be it. Then my sister announced that she was pregnant again, and basically she and my mother ended up having the baby talk really loudly, where my sister was excited to have another brother, and my mother wanted to have another grandchild. That was too much for Sarah, and she got up and left in tears, and I followed her shortly after. She had to cut off her family because they kept telling her she was not a woman for not being able to have children and was too old, and this got to her too much. After we got home, my mother called me and said Sarah behaves very rudely, and she was expecting an apology as it has ruined the dinner to celebrate life. I got angry and told her that she was completely out of line and inconsiderate for having the baby talk with my sister when she knew Sarah had another loss, and her life celebration dinner made things a lot worse for both Sarah and me. I've also said that we would not have come if she had told us what the dinner was about. In the end, I was called an idiot for not appreciating another life being born. Am I the idiot? Edit. To point out, my mother has told Sarah and me that the dinner was to support her after the loss. In no way or form did she mention this being about the celebration of life, pregnancy announcement, fertility lottery, and babies. We wouldn't have come if that was the case, and we were aware of it. Not the idiot, but let me get this straight. They have shot down options that you and your wife have considered. Firstly, they declined to carry for you because neither could have more children. Then they both spend the dinner allegedly planning to help consult your wife after a loss, loudly yapping about their pregnancies, the ones they claimed they couldn't have. Your mom and sister aren't the massive idiots here. And I say keep them out of any future family planning discussions entirely. I'm still shocked that OP will have a brother who's 29 years his junior. Or am I reading that wrong? Did they intentionally get knocked up to show off their functioning reproductive systems or something? Mommy, why did you and Daddy have so many kids? Well dear, you and your brother are spite babies. Yeah, tell me you hate my wife without telling me you hate my wife vibes. Opie, do you see a pattern here? This did not happen by accident. They manipulated you out of pursuing other options and lied in the worst possible way to manipulate you both to show up for dinner. They knew how much it would hurt. It wasn't a bug. It was a feature. Your mother and sister are annoyingly sabotaging your wife in your happiness. I would say OP's mother and sister very likely feel superior to OP's wife since she cannot carry a pregnancy. However, these women are quite clearly able to get pregnant easily, and for many women being so fertile makes them feel superior as a woman. That's beyond cruel, and I cannot see how they have any respect for life when they behave this way. I'm so glad you supported your wife. It's so heartbreaking to hear that she had to deal with this because she received zero support from her own family. I, teen male, have been in family therapy with my dad, his wife, her daughter, tween, and my half-siblings, kindergarten female young male child. My dad married his wife when I was 9 and 15 months after my mom died. They met at a support group for people who had lost someone. Dad lost mom, and his wife had lost both her parents close together, who were the people who helped her raise her daughter since the bio dad wasn't in the picture. Pretty quickly, her daughter started calling my dad, Dad. My dad's wife told me repeatedly in the first year that I could call her mom. She'd like it if I did. She'd love for me to call her daughter my sister instead of saying stepsister. She told me my mom would want me to have another mom, and that she'd want that for her daughter. So how about we drop the steps? We love each other like mom and son because that's what we legally are now. I said no. My dad told me I should give it a chance, that a mama's boy would do much better with another mom. It became pretty clear to them over the years that I was not into that idea. I used the half for my half-siblings once they were born. I never dropped the step, and I never called his wife mom, not even slipping up in a conversation or with other people. This all bothered them. So 17 months ago, they decided we should all go to family therapy and help smooth out all the creases, which to them is the step and half titles. The therapist and I have talked a lot over the months, just the two of us. She's pretty cool and knows what they want isn't going to happen. My dad and his wife started saying they wanted help for us to be the perfect family. And the therapist will always use the language, let's find your family's version of perfect, whatever that may be. Which I think makes sense because I know for me this will never be my perfect family. I also know they will never get the image they have in their heads. 3 weeks ago, we had a session with a fill-in therapist because our usual one is sick. During therapy, my stepsister felt really bad that I said stepsister after someone said I should take a photo with my sister. She also said she hates that I don't love her and she really felt it that day. Then her mom started talking about the perfect family thing. The therapist was not in control and had no idea what he was doing. I started getting mad because my dad and his wife were repeating the whole perfect family thing over and over again. I ended up saying we will never be the perfect family and I'll never see them as my ideal family, that I wouldn't even choose for them to be my family. It became a huge fight and I got grounded for 2 weeks for saying it. My dad told me he was tired of me not trying to make this family work and he told me I was out of line for saying what I did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm so sorry that you lost your mother first and foremost. Secondly, your dad is a major idiot for trying to force you to feel a certain way about his new spouse and kids. And thirdly, he's a super turd for punishing you for what you expressed in therapy. This is something to discuss with your regular therapist next time because someone needs to straighten that man out. Reach out to your mom's family, particularly your grandparents. Let them know you were restricted from contacting them, but you're now old enough to do so on your own. Call, text, and video chat regularly. Build a relationship. Try to arrange a visit and outing. See if you get on with cousins your age. So sorry for your loss. You're not being unreasonable. Your father lacks empathy. He's decided not to face his grief but rush into another relationship. His anger at you is because you remind him of his failing to support you as a father and to deal with his grief properly. Your stepmother is an insecure idiot. My male teen mom 39 remarried John 44. He has 2 daughters, Kayla a young teen and Janice a teen. They remarried about 4 years ago, and John's parents hate us. They don't like the fact that John remarried and hate me especially. But I think of John as my dad and Kayla and Janice as my sisters. So it was Kayla's birthday a few days ago, and her grandparents, who adore her, wanted to have a surprise party for her but keep it between family only. So when I heard of it, I was excited and helped with the cake, etc. On the day, everyone was getting ready, and it was going fine until John's parents asked, "What are my mom and him doing here? They're intruding on the party." They then told me I wasn't technically part of their side of the family, and that they were clear enough to say it was a family-only party. I was upset and argued back, and during all the chaos, the surprise aspect of the party kind of fell through. And basically, Kayla came back to see everyone fighting. John's parents told me I ruined the party, and they brought Kayla plus Janice and John back to their place instead to celebrate. I think what they did was unreasonable, but I also think I may be the idiot because family dynamics are complicated. I may have blown everything out of proportion. Holy cow, not the idiot. Also, it's hard to determine if John or John's parents are the bigger idiots. I lean slightly toward John for not standing up for the woman he married and saying this is my family, like it or love it. Everything is wrong here except you, my dude. Stand your ground for you and your mom. So they were making a surprise party at your parents' place and expected you and your mother to leave during that time? That's just so much BS. Especially since they didn't seem to have any problem with you helping them set everything up. Screw them. They are the idiots. They said family only, and you and your mother are now family whether they like it or not. What were you two expected to do? Leave your home for a few hours and not attend a party happening there? That's unacceptable on their part. And I can't believe your stepfather went along with it. I mean, he is a 44-year-old man and left with them. That is the most concerning part about this to me. You're a young teen. This is not a situation you should have been put in to begin with. I'm finding it hard to understand why more people are not identifying John as the giant idiot. I mean, sure, the grandparents are awful, that's a given. But John saw this go down and then left his wife and stepchild to party with his real family? Really? That's an actual idiot move. I, 38 male, have 2 daughters, Nora and Lily, teens from my former marriage. I got married to my current wife, who has a daughter, Jenna, a teen. Jenna has a disability. She's in a wheelchair. Before I met her mom, her life was pretty much inside the house. She was homeschooled up until I got her in a private school, but she still struggles with socializing due to growing up so isolated. My wife didn't want to, but I pushed for Jenna to get therapy, which I hoped would help her with her relationship with Nora and Lily. But the kids took their time to get to know her. So, yes, they did exclude her from activities. But I had several sit-downs with them in hopes of getting them to understand that Jenna is a normal girl and has so much in common with them. So they shouldn't feel like she's difficult just because of her disability. I thought things were getting better. But days ago, and while we were at a beach resort for 4 days, Jenna stayed with us while the girls kept going out. On our second day, I saw the girls getting ready to get ice cream. I asked Jenna if she wanted to join them, and she said yes. So I asked them to take her with them, and they were unsure at first but then took her. An hour later, my wife came to me saying that Jenna called her, saying the girls left her near one of the benches and told her to wait 5 minutes till they got ice cream, but didn't come back. So we went there immediately and found Jenna sitting alone while the girls were eating ice cream and hanging out at a different location. I got so mad at them, especially after they admitted to leaving her there. I told them vacation was over for them and had them pack their stuff and take them home. Both were crying and pleading in the car while my wife and Jenna waited at the resort. I dropped the girls off and had my mom stay with them. Then I returned and resumed the vacation. Both girls and their mom were all over me about this. And their mom went on a rant about me favoring my stepdaughter over my biological ones and being a doormat for my wife. The girls were upset, but I explained why I did what I did. Their mom defended them, saying that I shouldn't force them to care for their stepsister and expect them to be her maids and stop their life for her. It got to my former in-laws, who blamed me for ruining the much-awaited vacation for the girls and acting irrationally. I questioned whether I messed up and went too far with my reaction. All I wanted was for them to be upfront and honest and not abandon her the way they did. Everyone's the idiot here. Are you sure this is because Jenna has a disability? Or is it because she's the stepsister? You can read so many stories about people being forced to be friends with the step-siblings and how badly that went. Yes, leaving her there alone was bad. And yes, you should have punished them for it. But it would help if you weren't also forcing them to be friends. Let them make a relationship at their own pace. Also, she's not just a stepsister, but also a much younger stepsister. No teen wants to hang out with a kid and play babysitter. I think OP needs to be clear that any punishment, and I believe there should be one, isn't because they don't like their stepsister. It's because they endangered her well-being. Yeah, I'm not condoning their actions, far from it. But I have to wonder, when you did these sit-downs, were you only thinking about Jenna's feelings? Or did you consider your daughter's feelings too? Because there are 2 sides to every story. I wonder how they feel about this. Given that they've continually tried to exclude Jenna, avoid bonding with her, and he keeps insisting they do, I would put good money on him only looking at this from her perspective, to be honest. Most step-parents realize at some point that you can't create a bond if all kids aren't ready or willing. OP's also pushing them to be his wife's stepchildren. And his wife has treated those kids a fraction as poorly as her own child by keeping her housebound, isolated, and socially undeveloped. No wonder they're acting up. Like, sure, the first impulse here is to be shocked that the kids would do a mean thing to another kid for another hour. But stop and think about the underlying conditions for a second, and you get the sense that there's something really wrong with the adults here. Exactly this. And your point about the OP's wife keeping her child isolated, housebound, and socially undeveloped is spot on. This woman was a bad parent to her child. Maybe it's good that OP's children are not around OP's new wife. And while he might be a superhero to his stepchild, he's becoming the father who'll be shocked his adult kids had no contact. I, 45 female, have 2 kids, twins, male and female. And my husband, 47, has 2 daughters, 18 and teen. My husband is very strict with his daughters. Less with his oldest, obviously. And I think he sees my kids as his too. He's strict with them. And my kids don't mind much since he's their only father figure. And he has a good relationship with them. He's very protective over all the kids. I had a doctor's appointment yesterday. And my husband spent most of the day with his daughter at his parents' house. So I left my kids home and told them I'd be back later. My doctor took longer than expected. And by the time I was on my way back, when my husband had called me, I didn't answer since I was driving. And when I got back, he was really mad and told me that I was an irresponsible parent for leaving the kids home alone. He said they were still young and couldn't care for themselves. I said they're tweens, not 6 and 5. He was even angrier that I talked back to him and told me I should have gotten a neighbor to watch the kids. I said again that the kids were old enough to be alone, and they were perfectly capable of taking care of themselves for a few hours. My husband said he had had enough and told me that from now on, I have to stay home if he's not home before he went upstairs. It took me a while to cool down. I was really mad, but later I wondered if he was right since my kids could have still gotten into trouble. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot for leaving your kids alone if you as their parent felt they were mature enough to handle it. They're not babies anymore. But holy smokes, the rest of your story throws red flags regarding your husband. Angry at you for talking back? Telling you when you are and are not allowed to leave the house? Is this typical in your relationship? Also, if he knew she was going to the doctor, why didn't he stay home with the children or take them with him? It almost seems like he intentionally wasn't around so OP would have to stay home with her kids rather than see her doctor. The husband extends his strict rules for the kids to his wife. I only see this getting worse if OP doesn't do something to nip this in the bud quick. If she can't, she'll have some hard decisions. OP is not your parent and has no right to order you to do anything.